So recently I was thinking about starting to date again. Like I am a bit bored, no job, this kind of thing. And I thought, why not? I mean, I haven't been going on dates for a while. And in this episode, I want to cover recent dating experience and all of those very unhinged stories that I had. Welcome to Strudel Talk. So what do you guys use to date people? Do you guys use like dating apps or ask your friends or I don't know, somehow go to bar and meet people? In my case, I use dating apps like Tinder or Hinge at the moment, but I'm not also actively scrolling or swiping. So sometimes if I get a match and I see if I kind of attracted to the person, then I might start texting or I will just, wait what happens. Anyway, guys, I went on a date, a guy from Hinge, let's call him Max. So we matched when I was about to leave on holiday to Croatia, and then I told him like, hey dude, like I'm gonna leave for a vacation. And then he was like, yeah, when you come back we can go for a cute date. And I was like, sure, yeah, why not? I mean, okay. And after I came back, he texted me and asking like how I'm feeling, when I wanna meet up. So I told him, yeah, let's meet up on Tuesday or something like this. And then he was like, oh, which district do you live? I told him which district I live, and then he was like, oh, I'm gonna check some bars, some things that we can do together, and then I'm gonna come back at you. And I thought, wow, that's actually a very cool initiative person, that sounds nice, why not? And then I was waiting for his text, right, like if he has plan or something, what's gonna happen. And then he says like, hey, I will be around 8 in your district. And I was so confused, like I was like, what do you mean? Like, and he was like, yeah, we can go to bar. And he didn't even give me what kind of bar, which bar, where. And then I was like, okay, so you will be here in my district around 8 at some bar. And I was still waiting for the name of the bar. That never came, guys. And then I told him, okay, since 8 is coming soon, let's meet up this kind of bar that I like to go. And then I was like, wow, so where is the cute date idea? Where is the plan that he told me that he's planning something? And then I thought, okay, from like this moment, like I was like, I'm not gonna, expect something big out of it. Anyway, we went to the bar. Just extra information. So on his profile, he said like 30 years old, 180 centimeters, something like this. Just so you know, I really like tall guys. And I used to also date a guy who was like 180 centimeters. So I kind of know how tall they can look like. And then when I was walking next to him, I realized like, bro, this is not 180. But then I told myself, okay, Mara, fuck the height, just don't be so judgmental. And then we sat down on a table, we ordered our drinks. And you know how it goes, right? The small talk, say where are you from, when did you come to Austria, blah blah blah. And then he asked me, are you from Kazakhstan? I was like, whoa dude, that's a wrong girl, I think you're mistaking with someone else. And then he was like, no, I'm so sure you put Kazakhstan. And I was like, wait, could it be possible that I really put I'm from Kazakhstan? See what gaslighting does? We checked my profile together on Hinge. It says I'm freaking Mongolian from Ulaanbaatar. So yeah, I told him like, yeah, I think you're just mistaking me with someone else, I guess. And then he was like, yeah, I guess so. I was like, okay, Mara, don't judge again. So now he got to know that I'm from Mongolia. He asked like, oh, did you grow up in the city? And I told him, yes, I grew up in capital city. And he was like, yeah, I know the name of your capital city, but how is it called? And I was just looking at him like, Ulaanbaatar. And then he was like, wait, isn't it like different? And I was like, no dude, it's Ulaanbaatar. And I think he googled it. Yeah, I was like, it's okay, you don't need to know the capital city of Mongolia. It's fine, like if you know Mongolia, it's already good. Maybe the geography was not so great, and also we are coming from Asia, it's far away, so I understood him. And the next questions were quite interesting for me. I don't know how you would perceive this. So I have a bit of weird thing also on a dates. For instance, if I don't know the person so well, I don't like to discuss about money. But then this guy asks like, oh yeah, how much do you pay for rent? How much did you earn your salary salary back then, and I was cat sitting in that week. He was asking like per day or per hour, I don't know how much I'm earning. I don't know, like I don't want to talk about money like on the first date. I want to get to know you, right? Like I want to know what your hobbies, what do you like to do, blah blah blah, this kind of thing, like not discuss money. But once I get to know you well enough, then we can talk about it. Like I'm open about this kind of topic. And then the stories that he also told me about his previous work incident, it was kind of intense topic, I would say, and I don't think I can really disclose this here. So at the end of the date, it was just like 1.5 hours because I had to go to the cat. I think the cat made my day again by just hissing at me. So in general, if I could tell how it went, was like 5 out of 10. And I was like, okay, you know, we can again do the vibe check. Why not? Maybe he was nervous, he hasn't been going on a date, you know, this kind of thing. We met again, and then I was like, okay, let's do the vibe check. Let's see how it will go. And then boom, that went down. Okay, so he came to my place, and of course we were chatting and so on, blah blah blah. Things happened, blah blah blah. I don't need to discuss that. And then it was quite late, around 2 a.m. or something. So he was like, yeah, you know, tomorrow is gonna be a very busy day, so I wanna take an Uber to go home. I was like, yeah, sure. Also, it is very hard to tell someone to, can you please leave? So when I heard this, I was like, yes, he's leaving. That's great, because guys, I really love sleeping on my bed alone. In case someone who sleeps super deep, doesn't move, doesn't snore, then I'm okay. And then he was like checking the price from my place to his place, and I think it was around, I don't know, 10 something, I guess. And then he was like, well, today I didn't have pizza, so I can spend that money on Uber. Do I really need to know how much you're spending on what? And also, like, he was keep telling like, yeah, now I have to take an Uber. Why didn't I take my bicycle? When I checked, I saw there was a night bus just taking me 20 minutes to get home, but now it says 40 minutes. I was like, man, just take the fucking Uber. And then he tells me, maybe I can check something else. And I told him, check Bolt, it can be cheaper sometimes. And then he tells me, I don't have an account. I was like, and he tried to make one, and then he realized he didn't even bring his wallet. And then I was like, okay, dude, like, are you gonna take an Uber or not? And then again he was like, oh, it's over 10 euros. And I was just sitting there and thinking, okay, I hope he calls his Uber. And he did, and he left. And I started now rating my dates. This started with 5 out of 10, and now it became 4 out of 10. And then let's go back in a time. So I started from recent, and last year or also this year I was dating a guy who is in open relationship. And I have to give you why I dated open relationship people. First of all, I wanted to try something in my life, and second of all, I didn't want to commit. I know you can date longer without committing and this kind of thing, but you know, once you start dating a person that who is actually emotionally available, then you might start thinking or hoping things might change. So I just wanted to give it a try. So this year's guy, I don't know, it went a bit south, I would say. So I have nothing to talk about him. The one from last year, so let's call him Tintin. And I think he's in a very good open relationship. That's how I felt when we got to know each other. And on the first date, we immediately had a connection, and I kind of liked him as well, and also loved his voice. And I think we had a like 2 or 3 months run, and we were kind of just, you know, normally dating. We would meet maybe once a week or something. But then actually from my side, I had to stop it because I started to have feelings for him, and I was like, nah, Mara, this is not what you are looking for at the moment. You know, I was looking for something, no commitment at all, but have fun kind of thing. And also, you know, the person has a girlfriend, so I don't want to be involved involved in polyamorous or something like this because your girl is hetero, cis woman. Anyway, so the day that we decided to stop things, or I decided to stop things, I invited him to my place. And before that, I told him like, hey, I have something to talk to you. And he was like quite nervous, quite excited. And then, then he told me like, yeah, I was just discussing this with my girlfriend, what you're gonna talk about, and we had our guesses. My guess was that you're gonna ask me to meet more often, and her guess was to stop it. And of course, girls, we know deep down our intuition is really good, and it was his girlfriend's right. And I realized, whatever we talk, it doesn't stay between us, it will be shared to the girlfriend, and it makes me feel a bit weird. I don't know, like there is kind of shared moment then, you know what I mean? And I thought, okay, Tintin, it was a good run, I liked you. And then he said, no, I never liked you. And then he even said, oh, I was never so nice to you. I was so confused because he was actually genuinely nice person. Also, one time he even made his holiday a bit shorter to come back so we can meet before he also goes to different holiday. I don't know, I was so surprised when I heard that, and I was like, okay, if that's what you tell me, then I guess that's how it is. And yeah, guys, so that is how it went with that open relationship guy, Tintin. Just for a gossip, we recently matched on Tinder, and he was like, hey, how are you doing? Are you now all over? And I was like, what do you mean by over? And like, yeah, the feelings, that you had me. And I was like, hey, that was over very quick, by the way. And he was like, yeah, just checking. So back to the dating timeline. Before this open relationship guy, I was dating a French dude, and let's call him Jean. And there's a plot twist, guys. A very good friend of mine back then was dating a girl who is also French. Let's call her Justine. Okay, so Justine and my good friend started dating, I think last year, March. And then he would tell me, what kind of girl he's dating, what's going on. And one day he says like, by the way, her ex works at our place and he is French. And then we were like, do we know any French people? And we couldn't figure out. One day he started to follow her on Instagram, and he tells me, dude, this is the French guy, you must know, you've seen him. And to be honest, yes, I seen him around. So Jean turns out to be Justine's ex. So Jean and I did not know each other in March, and in maybe April we got matched on Tinder. It was kind of funny because we both work at the same workplace but different institutes, and we started talking on Tinder, and then we exchanged our numbers and we had our first date. But he never knew that my good friend is dating his ex-girlfriend. It was so fun. I don't know, it was just so weird, this never happens. And then we went on a date and we had a really good talk, and conversation was going so well, and then we were jumping from one bar to a different bar. And then he started to talk about his ex-girlfriend, that they share cats and whatnot, and what's going on and why they broke up. And then I was just looking at him like listening. And then I was like, hey Jean, by the any chance your ex-girlfriend's name is Justine? His face was so shocked. He was so confused. He was just, thinking like, what the fuck? How the fuck do you guys know each other kind of situation? And then he stood up and he said he's gonna go to toilet. And he came back and I was like, yeah, so my good friend is apparently dating your ex-girlfriend. And then he was like, fuck, the whole time I was talking about my ex-girlfriend to you, I had even more coming. And I think I kinda helped myself, also kinda helped him, because then four of us know each other now, and whatever maybe information that we share might can go around, I don't know. And yeah, of course we had a double date. I don't know, guys, it was kinda okay for me because maybe I was shit drunk, and my friend told me that it was weird. And later on, if I think about it, it's kinda awkward, like how can two really good friends are dating exes, and then all of us sitting in one bar? The ex-girlfriend is drunk, I am drunk, and my friend was not drunk, but he was not really there. And yeah, that's how it went. That's the only first double date we had, and I don't think that never happened. And our dynamic of dating Jean was very interesting, I would say. So from the beginning, he said he doesn't want any commitment, like he's not looking for any relationship type of thing, but just to see where it vibes. And for me back then, I was looking for something serious, and we kind of spent quite some time together, and I thought, okay, maybe I can ask him now if he changed his mind or not. But then he said no, he still doesn't want to commit. And then I told him then, okay, we have obviously two different reasons. That's why I want to finish it before it goes somewhere else. Because, guys, like I have to also protect myself, right? Because if I started to have very big feelings for this person and the person doesn't want to be with me, then it's gonna be only painful. But then we started dating again, and it was just exclusive dating because Jean was dating multiple people back then aside of me. I think that's one of the things that he told me, like he doesn't want to have emotions or emotional attachment to one person, so it's easier for him to date multiple people. And anyway, I was like respecting his choice, and then later I also respected his choice when he said he can do exclusive dating with me, and I think that was not a good idea. I think we were not really a good match. We were quite toxic to each other. And another thing is that he doesn't really have a friend. The only friend he has is his ex-girlfriend. And I don't know, I just started to get jealous. It's also the things that he would tell me, right? Once he even told me like, yeah, once I get drunk or when we get drunk, I tend to fuck my ex-girlfriend. And I'm like, whoa, so we are exclusive dating, and then now you're gonna go to meet your ex-girlfriend, and then you guys will get drunk, and then I guess you guys will have sex. Like, if they were really genuinely friends, then I wouldn't care, I'll be like, yeah, sure, you guys are just friends, it's fine. But if you already give me this kind of weird background, then I'm gonna start thinking like, okay, so what is this now? And I told him like, hey, sorry, I'm getting jealous. And he was like, okay, I get your point, I understand it. And a few days later, he said, okay, Mara, we have to stop it. I kinda knew it was coming, and we met and talked about it. And you know what? One of the reasons why he also wanted to break up was I was getting jealous. And deep down I was like, bitch, I told you that I'm gonna work on my jealousy. But if I think about it now, going back on that time, it was not even worth to work on my jealousy. Because guys, we stayed friends, yeah, because I'm dumb. And I was like, yeah, well, the friendship was also not working out because we managed to become toxic people to each other, like in a weird way. Let's say like kind of wanting to show off that how many dates we are going and this kind of thing. I don't know, it was so weird. But anyway, in our language or in our country, we say like wherever you sit down, grasp something out of the ground. The meaning is wherever you go, learn something new. Thank you, Jean. I think I learned something new. Never freaking date someone who is still friends and does something weird things with his ex-girlfriend. Yeah, in general, let's rank this. What would you rank? I will leave it up to you guys. Okay, let's go back in a time even more. During pandemic, how did you guys go on a date? Did you guys take a walk or immediately went to each other's place? Let me know how you guys did. So for my case, I went on a date to countryside. It was interesting actually because we still had to wear masks and this kind of thing, right? On our first date, so I went to his village where he was living, but he was from Canada and he was a hockey coach. Anyway, I arrived in that village and then he picked me up from the train station. First thing I realized, he was wearing Birkenstock. Guys, it was winter by the way, and I was like, what the fuck, he's wearing Birkenstock in this season? That's super fucking weird. And we went to his place and we had a drink. Several things I noticed. forest. When I entered his apartment, oh my god, the smell was horrible. You know, feet smell. And that was coming from the entrance. Anyhow, living room was way better. And then I realized, you know, his oven glass was broken. And then I was like, wait, what happened there? Like, why your oven glass is broken? And he said, I have an anger issue. Ooh, that was like red flag. And then I was thinking like, Mara, why do you do this to yourself? And then somehow, you know, we started to talk about certain things, how he ended up in Austria being like a hockey coach. He used to be also a hockey player, or he was a hockey player. And then somehow, I don't know, I guess I didn't really care about the anger issue anymore, and then we were just, you know, hanging out and things went well, blah blah blah. And then the next morning we decided to go hiking. It was actually very beautiful because there were not so many people and the whole forest or mountain was for us. On the way back to his place, we found a cool farm where you can buy, you know, fresh cheese, milk, and this kind of things, also eggs. And they had so many kittens, so I was playing with the kittens and it was super cute. And we came back to his place and I was like, yeah, I have to go back to Vienna. And before that, he was showing me like how he is playing hockey. It was like he himself admiring himself. He was like, oh look, I'm gonna shoot. Oh look. And I was like, whoa dude, chill. And then I was like, what the hell? And then somehow we started to talk about politics because he was saying like there's this YouTuber talks about men's rights. And I was like, okay, can you tell me more about men's rights? And then he started to tell something weird and I wasn't really listening to it. I was getting more this kind of feeling like, oh my god, who is he? And then he says like, yeah, also, you know, when it comes to politics, he thinks Trump is doing right things. So I was like, no, he's a Trump supporter. And yeah, I got off that place. Girls, you know, there's a word saying that he can be good to your whole doesn't mean good to your heart or something like this. I don't know. Yeah, well, this was with this Canadian dude. And before Corona, I was actually in a relationship. Let's call it a relationship. So I'm not gonna cover about my relationship in this episode. I will talk about this next one. So I went on a date with this guy. I think he was from Innsbruck or something. Okay, let's call him Michi. Our first date was in this one of the restaurants. I forgot the name of it, but it's one of very nice one. And then we met there for a drink and he was like, do you want to eat something? And I was like, yeah, sure. And he was like, oh, I'm not so hungry, but if you want to order something, please go ahead. So I ordered something small because I was also like, yeah, it's late night, so I don't want to eat so much. And you know what? I'm not the one who ate most of it. It was Michi. I was like, okay, I thought you were not hungry, but it's fine. And I think the date went okay. So he said, hey, let's meet again when I'm back from Innsbruck because I'm gonna go visit my brother. We're gonna have nice holiday. And they were going for a skiing trip. I was like, yeah, sure, why not? Yeah, just let me know when you're back. And we were following each other on Instagram. And of course I was checking his profile and I found one girl just commenting hearts and saying I love you, this kind of thing. And I thought, okay, maybe it's his friend or something. And I went to her profile, it was open. And then I saw pictures of them and I thought, wait, what is going on? And I was so invested. I wanted to know if they were together or not, but it seemed like they are together. So how I figured it out is that whatever he was posting on Instagram stories, and I was also checking her Instagram stories and it was the same. The thing that she was from UK or something, so I guess they met in Innsbruck to have a holiday. And I was like, shit, did I go on a date with the guy who is in a relationship? And I thought like I'm gonna text her after the holiday just to see if that's the truth, that I went on a date with the guy who is in a relationship or like open relationship, this kind of thing. But of course I couldn't wait and I texted her on Instagram. I told her that, hey, you know, I am this and this and I went out on a date with your boyfriend, I think. Is Michi is your boyfriend? And then she says, yes, he is my boyfriend. And this is not the first time happening that he's cheating on me. And she even said, thank you so much. And I don't know if I said you're welcome, but I think I may have said like, you know, I didn't want to disturb you or your holiday or nothing, you know, I just didn't want to disturb also your relationship, but I think he's doing something shady. Just wanted to let you know. And you know, girls, again, this gut feelings, gotta follow that shit. And some days later, I think he texted me and saying, hey, did you do this? Did you write my girlfriend or something like this? And I said, yes, you bitch, blah, blah, blah. I think we had a bit of fight, but verbally. And still he wanted to see me. I was like, whoa, I'm not gonna see you because I don't know what he's gonna do to me, you know, you never know. Maybe he's so butthurt because he got caught, and I did block him. I kind of felt good because, you know, she deserves someone who's way better than him, because it can happen that sometimes when you come after someone's, you know, partner saying, hey, your partner is cheating, and you never know how that person will react. It can happen that they pretend that they did not know, even though they had the feelings probably, or even they did not know, they might protect the partners. But she was opposite, so that shows that she's a very nice person, and hopefully she is now with someone who is way better than that guy. Let's move on. Cheating story. I have next question coming up in my head. Have you ever guys got catfished, or have you ever catfished someone? So this happened to me when I was like 22 or 3 years old. I was texting a guy on Tinder and he looked very handsome, and he's from Egypt, and I never experienced, you know, someone from Egypt, and I was quite curious. The thing is that our communication was very interesting because he couldn't speak well English and I couldn't speak well German, so we were trying to speak this weird German, let's say. And one day we decided to meet up. I was quite excited and I was like, yeah, I can come over. And then, yeah, once I stepped out from a tram, he told me that, hey, can you wait at the tram station? I am coming. And then I was like looking around and thinking, okay, where he is, where is he gonna come? And then there was a guy walking towards me. First of all, I thought, okay, this cannot be him. And the guy was approaching and approaching, and I thought, wait, no way, this is the guy. And he just says, hey Mara. And I thought, wait, he looks way bigger than the pictures. The pictures that he posted or had on his Tinder account was just, you know, this bodybuilding type of pictures, and back then I was into that kind of body shaped guys. But this was super opposite. In that moment I did not know what to do. I was just standing there and trying to talk to him because, you know, German skills was super bad. And then I remember we were taking a walk, and then he was explaining why he looks like this. So apparently he has some problem with his hormones, so whatever he does or eats becomes fat, and sometimes it's very hard to lose that fat, and if he cannot control what he's eating, it just becomes like this. The thing is that it's not completely different person, it's just the body size, it was different. In that moment I kinda understood him and felt this empathy towards him because, you know, I also have insecurity with my own body, never know how people can see me. Maybe I see myself like this, but then my people judge me, you know what I mean? So I didn't want to make huge fuss about it, and I still went on a date. And he was kinda nice person, I would say. He was kinda funny, trying to make jokes in German, which I was struggling. And then I was like, yeah, I can date with him, why not? I don't really mind. I think the most important part is, you know, inside the person who is. But then that guy freaking ghosted me. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, yeah, I will be so empathic, blah, blah, blah. And then I got ghosted. I was like, wow, Mara, like, what the fuck? I wish him all the best with his hormones. I hope he stopped catfishing girls. Okay, if we now summarize the whole topic, we started with the guy who thought I was from Kazakhstan and went to the open relationship guy, and then French dude, and the guy who has anger issue yet Trump supporter, guy who cheated on his girlfriend, and the last catfisher. Usually whenever I talk to my friends about my dating life, it is somehow easier to give them just nicknames depending on the events. For instance, just like this, you know, cheater guy, catfisher guy, French dude, then my friends can understand what's going on because the names, it doesn't stay. So with this, I'm almost coming to the end, but before that I wanna share extra story with you. It happened to my very good friend. She gave me a permission to share this story. So she was one day chilling at Starbucks, and the guy approaches to her. He asks her if he can get to know her. Apparently, he does this because he doesn't want to use any kind of dating apps and he just likes to ask girls out. And he asked her Instagram account and then to meet one day for a coffee. Initially, I thought this is very nice because it's so hard to ask someone out on the street, right? Anyway, so they went on a coffee date. During the date, he told her that he doesn't have any yellow fever, but he goes out on his free days to hunt Asian women on the streets. And my friend told him that, okay, dude, like we're not gonna go more on dates. And one day again, she was on the street, I don't know where she was, and then he walked past by her and then asked, hey, hi, do we know each other? Can we get to know each other? And then she was surprised because that he asked this from her already. And then she told him, yeah, no, we are not gonna go out because I'm seeing someone. And then that was super suspicious because, he couldn't even remember whom he asked to go out. Does he have like a fish memory or something? Apparently a year later, he again tried to talk to her on the street. He said again hello if he never knew her, and my friend just walked away. But then after a few months later, he texts her and asking why he has her number, who is she, and by the way, how is she doing? When I heard all of this story, I was like, what the hell is this? He has mental problem for sure. So when she used to follow him on Instagram, she showed me his pictures. And few months later, I found him on Hinge. Do you remember that he said like I don't use dating apps, but then come on dude, like I found you on Hinge. I screenshotted and sent to my friend. So obviously this guy is just walking around on the streets and trying to get Asian women and lying to them and even cannot remember if he asked them or not. Oh, and the plot twist, the same guy tried to ask me out when I was walking at the Mariehilferstraße. And I was like, oh no, I know this guy because I remembered from the pictures. And he just appeared and tried to say hi. And then I took my, headphones and I was like, no. And I walked away. So yeah, my fellow Asians, beware there's this weird guy on the loose. And my favorite song of this week, Can't Get It Right by Bo as well. With this, I can end this episode. And thank you very much for always listening to my podcast. If you have anything to share with me, please leave a comment. My podcast is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Share the words with your friends, follow me, and subscribe. Until next time, bye!